I'm Faith Adams, and I deal with death for a living. Not human death, mind you, but something just as heartbreaking. The golden retriever on my metal table had belonged to the Johnsons for 12 years, and now here I was, preparing him for his final journey. My hands worked methodically, applying the gentle touches that would give this family closure, even as my own world crumbled around me. Sarah's medical bills sat in a stack on my desk, each one a fresh punch to the gut. Stage 4 breast cancer doesn't ask if you can afford it. The treatments that might save her life cost more than my small pet funeral home made in 6 months. Every day I watched the woman I loved grow weaker, while the numbers on those bills grew larger. The bell above my door chimed, and I looked up to see a brunette woman in her late 20s, cradling a small cat carrier. Her blue eyes were red-rimmed, and she clutched the carrier like it held her whole world. "Are you Faith?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "That's me." I wiped my hands clean and approached her slowly. "You must be Jennifer Russell. I'm so sorry for your loss." She nodded, unable to speak for a moment. She was everything to me, 15 years together. I guided her to the consultation room, where I kept soft lighting and comfortable chairs for moments like this. Jennifer set the carrier down gently and just stared at it. "Tell me about her," I said softly. The words came tumbling out. Luna the kitten who'd been found in a storm drain. Luna the companion through veterinary school. Luna the constant presence through a difficult divorce and the journey of discovering her true self. As Jennifer spoke, I found myself genuinely invested in this story, not just performing my professional duties. "I'm a veterinarian," Jennifer said with a bitter laugh. "I save animals for a living, but I couldn't save her." "Sometimes letting go is the kindest thing we can do," I replied, and meant it. We'd had this conversation with Sarah's doctors just last week. Jennifer's eyes met mine, and something passed between us. Recognition, maybe, or just the understanding that comes when two people are drowning in their own ways. "How do you do this every day?" she asked. "Because someone has to help people say goodbye properly." I paused, thinking of Sarah sleeping fitfully at home. "And because love doesn't end when life does." Jennifer nodded slowly. "I'd like the premium service. Luna deserves the best." As I walked her through the options, I found myself watching the way she tucked her hair behind her ear, the gentle way she spoke about her beloved cat. There was something about Jennifer Russell that made me want to know more, want to offer comfort beyond my professional services. When she left that afternoon, promising to return in 3 days for Luna's ashes, I realized I was looking forward to seeing her again. In a life filled with endings, Jennifer felt like the possibility of something beginning. But beginnings require honesty, and I was already keeping secrets that could destroy everything. 3 days later, Jennifer returned for Luna's ashes, but she lingered longer than necessary. I'd noticed she did that, found excuses to stay and talk. Today she brought coffee for both of us, an unexpected kindness that warmed me more than the drink itself. "You look exhausted," she said, studying my face with those penetrating blue eyes. I was. Sarah had been up most of the night, and the bills kept multiplying. Sleep felt like a luxury I couldn't afford. "Just busy season," I lied. Jennifer set down her cup and leaned forward. "When's the last time you did something just for yourself?" "I don't really have time for that. Everyone needs time for that." She pulled out her phone and showed me a photo of a campsite surrounded by tall pines. "I'm going here this weekend, Angeles National Forest. It's quiet, peaceful. You should come." The suggestion caught me off guard. "I don't really know you." "Then, let's fix that." Something in her voice made me look up. There was an earnestness there, an invitation that went beyond simple friendship. My heart did something complicated, a flutter of possibility mixed with guilt. "I can't just leave Sarah." "Sarah?" Damn. I hadn't meant to mention her name. My girlfriend. She's been sick. Jennifer's expression shifted slightly, but not with judgment. "How sick?" The words tumbled out before I could stop them. "Cancer. Stage 4. She's dying, and I can't save her, and I can't afford to save her, and I'm drowning." Jennifer reached across and touched my hand, a simple gesture that nearly broke me. "Come camping. One night. Everyone deserves to breathe." Saturday morning found us driving up winding mountain roads in Jennifer's Jeep, the city falling away behind us. I'd left Sarah with her sister, feeling guilty but also lighter than I had in months. Jennifer had packed everything, insisting I didn't need to worry about a thing. The campsite was perfect, tucked into a grove of pines with a clear view of the valley below. As we set up the tent together, I found myself watching Jennifer's easy movements, the confident way she handled the equipment. "You do this often?" I asked. "Every few months. Luna used to love it here." Her voice caught slightly on her cat's name. We spent the afternoon hiking, talking about everything and nothing. Jennifer told me about veterinary school, about her ex-husband who'd never understood her need for independence, about the moment she'd realized she was attracted to women. I found myself sharing stories I'd never told anyone, about growing up in a small town, about the fear that had kept me closeted until my 20s. As evening fell, we built a fire and shared the sandwiches Jennifer had made. Turkey and avocado, simple but perfect. She'd even remembered to bring marshmallows. "Tell me something real," she said, as we watched the flames dance. "What do you mean?" "Something that matters to you. Something that scares you." I stared into the fire, feeling the heat on my face. "I'm scared I'm going to lose everything. Sarah, the business, myself. I'm scared I'm not strong enough for what's coming." Jennifer was quiet for a long moment. "You know what scares me? That I spent so much time hiding who I was that I forgot how to be brave about wanting things." She looked at me as she said it, and the meaning was unmistakable. The space between us felt charged, electric with possibility. "Jennifer, I know you're with someone. I know this is complicated. But sitting here with you feels like the first real thing I've experienced in months." The stars were brilliant overhead, free from the city's light pollution. Jennifer moved closer, and I didn't stop her. "What are we doing?" I whispered. Being honest for once. When she kissed me, it was soft, tentative, a question more than a statement. I kissed her back, tasting marshmallow and possibility, feeling alive in a way I'd forgotten was possible. When we broke apart, both of us were trembling. "Oh, damn," I breathed. Jennifer laughed softly. "Yeah. Oh, damn." I drove home from the campsite Monday morning with Jennifer's kiss still burning on my lips and guilt eating me alive. Sarah was awake when I walked in, looking smaller than ever in our oversized bed, her bald head stark against the white pillowcase. "How was your weekend?" she asked, and I hated how genuinely interested she sounded. "Fine, just needed some air." The lie tasted bitter. Dr. Morrison called that afternoon with news that made my stomach drop. The latest scans showed progression. More aggressive treatment was available, experimental stuff that insurance wouldn't cover. $60,000 minimum. "We need to discuss options," he said gently, which I'd learned was doctor speak for preparing to die. After I hung up, I sat in my office staring at Luna's cremation certificate, thinking about Jennifer's hands and Sarah's hollow cheeks. My phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer, "Thinking about you. Coffee later?" I deleted it without responding. Tuesday brought Mr. Kellerman to my door. Expensive suit, hollow smile, cash in a briefcase like something out of a bad movie. He claimed to represent grieving families who wanted discreet arrangements for their beloved pets. "Discreet how?" I asked. "Sometimes families prefer alternative documentation. Different dates, different causes, insurance purposes, you understand?" I didn't understand, but $50,000 would pay for Sarah's treatment. "What exactly are you asking me to do?" "Simple paperwork adjustments, nothing that hurts anyone." He slid a business card across my desk. "Think about it. People you love shouldn't suffer because of money." Jennifer showed up that evening, uninvited but not unwelcome. I'd been avoiding her calls all week, but seeing her standing in my doorway with takeout Chinese food made my resolve crumble. "You're avoiding me," she said simply. "I'm busy." Bullshit. She pushed past me into the office. "Sarah's sleeping." I checked. We ate in awkward silence until Jennifer finally spoke. "What happened up there, that was real. Don't pretend it wasn't. It was a mistake." "Was it?" She moved closer, and I could smell her perfume, something light and floral that made me dizzy. "Because I can't stop thinking about you." "Jennifer, don't." But she was already reaching for me, her fingers trailing along my jaw. "Tell me you don't feel this too." When she kissed me this time, it wasn't soft or tentative. It was desperate, hungry, everything I'd been trying not to want. I kissed her back despite myself, my hands tangling in her hair, pulling her closer. "This is wrong," I whispered against her lips. "I know." We stumbled toward the couch, a tangle of limbs and need. Jennifer's hands found the buttons of my shirt while I traced the curve of her neck with my mouth. Everything felt urgent, stolen, like we were racing against time. When she touched me, really touched me, I forgot about Sarah sleeping upstairs. Forgot about the bills on my desk and the business card in my drawer. There was only Jennifer's breath against my skin, her whispered encouragement, the amazing feeling of being wanted so completely. Afterward, we lay twisted together on the narrow couch, both of us breathing hard. The guilt crashed over me immediately, but underneath it was something I hadn't felt in months: satisfaction, contentment, the dangerous warmth of being desired. I should go, Jennifer said softly, but she didn't move. Yeah. You should. We both knew she wouldn't. Not yet. We'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Started something that demanded finishing despite the wreckage it might cause. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. A text from the number on Kellerman's business card. Have you considered our offer? Time sensitive. Jennifer saw me reading it, saw my expression change. What is it? Nothing important. But everything was becoming important now. Sarah upstairs, Jennifer in my arms, and $60,000 hiding behind a simple lie. I was walking a tightrope with no safety net, and the fall was looking more inevitable each day. Jennifer kissed my shoulder, a soft, possessive gesture that made my heart ache. We should talk about this. About us. There is no us. Isn't there? The question hung in the air like smoke, impossible to ignore and too dangerous to answer. I made the call to Kellerman Thursday morning while Sarah was at chemotherapy. My hands shook as I dialed, but $60,000 was $60,000. He arrived within an hour, briefcase in tow, explaining the process with clinical efficiency. Simple documentation adjustments, he said again, spreading papers across my desk. 5 clients initially. Pets that never existed require cremation certificates. Insurance claims follow. The math was elegant in its simplicity. Create fake pet death certificates, issue cremation documentation, split the insurance payouts, clean money laundering disguised as grief services. I signed the first set of papers that afternoon, telling myself it was temporary, just until Sarah's treatment was covered. Smart choice, Kellerman smiled, sliding an envelope across my desk. $5,000 advance. More when the certificates are processed. Jennifer started showing up more regularly, claiming she needed help organizing my filing system. I didn't object. Having her around made the guilt easier to bear, her presence a distraction from what I was becoming. Your paperwork's a mess, she said, flipping through cremation records. These dates don't match intake logs. My blood went cold. Sometimes I backdate things, for client convenience. She looked at me strangely but didn't press. I watched her work, cataloging my legitimate business while evidence of my fraud sat locked in my desk drawer. The irony wasn't lost on me. Faith? Jennifer's voice was careful, controlled. This cremation certificate shows 3 pets from the same address on the same day. But there's no intake documentation, no payment records. Shit, I'd been careless, too focused on Sarah's declining health to cover my tracks properly. Jennifer held up the falsified paperwork, her blue eyes sharp with suspicion. There's an explanation. I'm sure there is. Her tone was ice cold. What the hell are you involved in? Nothing that concerns you. Bullshit. I've been helping you organize these files for weeks. I know your legitimate business inside and out. These records don't exist in your system. We faced each other across my desk like adversaries. Jennifer's jaw was set in that stubborn line I'd learned meant she wouldn't back down. The smart thing would have been to explain, to trust her. Instead, I panicked. You need to leave. Not until you explain what's going on. It's not your business. The hell it isn't. She moved around the desk, closing the distance between us. We slept together, Faith, multiple times. That makes it my business. The memory of her hands on my skin flooded back. The way she'd whispered my name like a prayer. Standing this close, I could see the hurt behind her anger, the betrayal that cut deeper than suspicion. Jennifer, please. Please what? Please keep your mouth shut about the fraud? Please pretend I don't care about you? Before I could answer, she grabbed my face and kissed me hard. It was angry, desperate, a clash of tongues and teeth that tasted like accusation. I kissed her back despite myself, my hands fisting in her shirt, pulling her closer even as I pushed her away emotionally. Stop lying to me, she breathed against my lips. I can't. Why? Because explaining meant admitting I'd crossed lines I couldn't uncross. Because the money in my account could save Sarah's life. Because loving Jennifer was destroying what was left of my integrity and I didn't know how to stop. Because some things are bigger than us. Jennifer pulled back, her eyes searching my face. This isn't just about Sarah, is it? This is about something else, something dangerous. Smart woman. Too smart for her own good, or mine. I could see her putting pieces together, connecting dots I'd tried to keep separate. The falsified records, the unexplained income, my growing desperation. You're scaring me, she said softly. Good. You should be scared. It was the wrong thing to say. Jennifer's expression hardened, and I watched her retreat behind walls I'd spent weeks helping her tear down. Fine, keep your secrets, but don't expect me to pretend this is normal. She gathered her purse and jacket, moving with sharp, efficient movements that screamed disappointment. At the door she paused without turning around. When you're ready to trust me, you know where to find me. After she left, I sat alone with Kellerman's envelope and my dying girlfriend upstairs. The money felt heavier now, weighted with more than just Sarah's life. Every choice I'd made was tangling tighter around me, creating a web I couldn't escape. My phone buzzed. Kellerman again, next batch ready tomorrow, same process. I stared at the message, knowing I'd already crossed the line. There was no going back now, only forward into whatever consequences waited. But Jennifer's kiss still burned on my lips, and her words echoed in my ears. Trust. Something I'd forgotten how to give or receive. The fraud was supposed to be simple. Nothing about this was simple anymore. Friday morning brought Detective Martinez to my door, shield in hand and questions in his eyes. He was thick-set, graying at the temples, with the patient demeanor of someone who'd seen enough lies to recognize truth when it surfaced. Miss Adams? I'm investigating irregularities in pet cremation services in the county. My heart hammered against my ribs, but I kept my voice steady. What kind of irregularities? Insurance claims for pets that may not have existed. Fraudulent death certificates. Your business name came up in our investigation. I invited him into my office, hyper-aware of the locked desk drawer containing Kellerman's paperwork. Martinez moved slowly through my space, examining certificates on the wall, glancing at my filing cabinets with professional interest. How long have you operated here? 3 years. Business good? People love their pets. There's always demand. He nodded, making notes. Mind if I look at some recent records? Just routine verification. I pulled legitimate files, praying my hands wouldn't shake. Martinez scanned cremation certificates, cross-referencing dates and signatures. Professional, thorough, patient as a hunter, waiting for prey to stumble. Everything appears in order, he said finally. But if anything unusual comes up, anything at all, I hope you'll contact me. His card felt like evidence in my pocket after he left. Jennifer appeared that evening while I was closing up, slipping through the door like she belonged there. She'd been avoiding my calls since our fight, but now she stood before me with determination written across her features. We need to talk. Now's not a good time. It's never a good time with you. She moved into my space, close enough that I could smell her shampoo. A detective visited my clinic today, asking questions about pet death certificates, cremation records. Your name came up. My stomach dropped. What did you tell him? That you're professional and thorough. But Faith, what the hell is happening? What are you involved in? The concern in her voice nearly broke me. Standing there in my office, surrounded by evidence of my legitimate work and my criminal activities, I wanted nothing more than to tell her everything, to collapse into her arms and let someone else carry the weight for once. I can't tell you. Because you don't trust me? Because I'm trying to protect you. Jennifer stepped closer, her hand finding my cheek. I don't need protection. I need honesty. When she kissed me this time, it wasn't angry or desperate. It was soft, questioning, an offer of comfort I desperately wanted to accept. I kissed her back, my arms sliding around her waist, pulling her against me. Tell me, she whispered against my lips. I can't. Her hands found the hem of my shirt, sliding underneath to trace patterns on my skin. Then don't tell me, just be here with me. We moved together toward my office couch, the same place we'd been before, but everything felt different now, charged with the weight of secrets and the knowledge that we were running out of time. Jennifer's touch was urgent, possessive, like she was trying to memorize every inch of me. When she kissed my neck, I forgot about Martinez's questions. When her hands found the clasp of my bra, I forgot about Kellerman's money. There was only Jennifer surrounding me, filling my senses, making me forget everything except the heat building between us. Afterward, we lay tangled together in the dim light, both breathing hard. Jennifer traced lazy circles on my shoulder, her touch gentle now, almost reverent. "I love you," she said quietly. The words hit me like a physical blow. Love. Such a simple concept that had become impossibly complicated. I loved Sarah, but Sarah was dying. I loved Jennifer, but Jennifer deserved better than a criminal. Don't say that. Why? Because it's inconvenient? Because it complicates your life? I turned to face her, studying the earnest expression in her blue eyes. Because loving me is dangerous right now. I don't care. You should. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. A text from an unknown number. Beach meeting tomorrow, 3 p.m. Come alone. Important information about your situation. Jennifer saw me reading, saw the color drain from my face. What is it? Work stuff. Bullshit. She sat up, reaching for her clothes. You know what? I'm done with the lies. Done pretending this half-truth relationship is enough. Jennifer, wait. But she was already dressing, her movements sharp with hurt and frustration. When you decide you trust me enough to let me in completely, call me. Until then, we're just sleeping together. The door slammed behind her, leaving me alone with my secrets and the growing certainty that everything was about to fall apart. The text message glowed on my phone screen, promising answers I wasn't sure I wanted to hear. Outside, rain began to fall, drumming against the windows like an ominous countdown. I drove to Torrance Beach that Saturday with my heart in my throat. The mysterious text had kept me awake all night, imagining worst-case scenarios. The meeting spot was isolated, a stretch of sand where families wouldn't venture on a cloudy afternoon. Derek Holcomb stood near the pier, my business partner for the past year. Tall, nervous, constantly checking his watch like time was a predator hunting him down. When he saw me approaching, his relief was palpable. Thank God you came. What's this about, Derek? He glanced around, then pulled me behind a weathered pillar. The police visited my crematorium yesterday. Same detective who probably came to see you. Martinez. My blood turned to ice. What did he want? Records, documentation. Faith, they know about the insurance scheme, all of it. Derek's hands shook as he lit a cigarette. Kellerman isn't just running a small operation. This is massive. Pet funeral homes across 3 states. Millions in fraudulent claims. How massive? 47 businesses. Hundreds of fake pets. We're talking federal charges, Faith. Prison time. The pier seemed to tilt beneath my feet. What do we do? Kellerman wants us to destroy everything. All records, all evidence. Clean slate and disappear. Derek took a desperate drag. But Martinez already has copies. Someone's been feeding them information. Someone. An insider, a whistleblower, someone with access to the network. My paranoia spiked as I thought of everyone who'd been in my office recently. Jennifer. Smart, observant Jennifer who'd noticed the inconsistencies in my records. Who else knows about this? Just us and Kellerman's people. Unless... Derek's eyes narrowed. You haven't told anyone, have you? Of course not. But doubt crept in like fog. Jennifer's questions, her sudden interest in my filing system, the way she'd appeared at my clinic asking about records, the detective visiting her veterinary practice. The timeline was too convenient, too perfect. I drove home in a daze, Derek's warnings echoing in my head. Sarah was sleeping when I arrived, her breathing shallow and labored. The experimental treatment had started, funded by my criminal activities, and she was responding well. Ironic how stolen money could save a life while destroying everything else. My phone rang. Jennifer? We need to talk. About what? About the fact that you're involved in something that could destroy you. About the fact that I care too much to watch it happen. 20 minutes later, she stood in my living room, pacing like a caged animal. Her hair was disheveled, her clothes wrinkled, like she'd been wrestling with decisions all night. The detective came back to my clinic, asked specific questions about you, about our relationship. She stopped pacing, fixing me with those penetrating blue eyes. He knows we're involved. What did you tell him? The truth. That I care about you. She moved closer, her voice dropping. Faith, whatever you're mixed up in, it's bigger than you think. The police aren't asking casual questions anymore. How do you know what they're asking? Something flickered across her face. Guilt? Fear? Because they asked me to help. The words hit like a physical blow. What? They know you're involved in insurance fraud. They know about the fake cremation certificates. Martinez asked if I'd noticed anything suspicious in your records. I staggered backward, understanding flooding through me like poison. You're working with them. I'm trying to protect you. By spying on me? By gathering evidence? Jennifer's face crumpled. By convincing you to cooperate before this gets worse. Faith, they have enough to arrest you right now. The only reason you're not in handcuffs is because they want the bigger fish. Kellerman. And whoever else is running this operation. She reached for me, but I pulled away. I told Martinez I could convince you to work with them, to wear a wire, gather evidence, in exchange for immunity. The betrayal cut deeper than I'd expected. Jennifer, who'd made love to me with such passion, who'd whispered words of love against my skin, had been building a case against me the entire time. How long? How long what? How long have you been working with the police? Jennifer's silence was answer enough. Since the beginning. Since that first day she'd brought Chinese food to my office. Every kiss, every touch, every moment of intimacy had been contaminated by deception. You lying bitch. Faith, please, listen. But I was already moving, grabbing my keys, heading for the door. Behind me, Jennifer called my name, her voice breaking with something that sounded like genuine pain, but I couldn't trust what was real anymore. Everything I thought I knew was crumbling. I drove aimlessly through Torrance, rage and hurt warring in my chest. Sarah was dying upstairs, paid for with criminal money. Jennifer was working with the police, her love a carefully constructed lie. My business was about to collapse, taking my freedom with it. At a red light, I started laughing. Hysterical, bitter laughter that bordered on madness. I'd thought I was saving everyone I loved, but I'd destroyed everything that mattered instead. The only question now was how much further I could fall before hitting bottom. My phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer, "I love you." That was never a lie. I deleted it without responding. Monday morning brought Detective Martinez back to my door, this time with a proposal instead of suspicions. He sat across from my desk, studying me with the patience of a man who held all the cards and knew it. "Miss Adams, we have enough evidence to arrest you today, but we're more interested in the people above you in this operation." I said nothing, my hands folded in my lap to hide their trembling. "Your girlfriend Jennifer Russell spoke highly of you. Says you're not a criminal, just someone who got desperate." His voice softened marginally. "We'd like to give you a chance to prove her right." "What kind of chance?" "Wear a recording device. Continue your meetings with Kellerman's people. Help us gather evidence against the organization." Martinez leaned forward. "In exchange, we can offer immunity from prosecution." The choice was stark: cooperation or prison. Sarah's face flashed before my eyes, wan and hopeful as the new treatment slowly worked its magic. I couldn't save her from behind bars. What would I have to do? Act normal. Meet with your contacts as scheduled. Let them talk. He slid a business card across my desk. "Jennifer's waiting in the parking lot. She insisted on being here when you made your decision." My heart clenched at the mention of her name. Despite everything, despite the betrayal and lies, I still loved her. That realization hurt worse than anything else. The wire was smaller than I'd expected, taped beneath my blouse with professional efficiency. Jennifer waited in Martinez's car while the technician explained the device, her face pale through the window. We hadn't spoken since our confrontation, but her presence felt like both comfort and accusation. "Remember? Act natural. Don't force conversations or ask leading questions," Martinez instructed. "They're expecting you at the warehouse for payment pickup at 3. The warehouse sat on the outskirts of Torrance, a nondescript building surrounded by industrial lots. I'd been here twice before to collect payments, but today felt different. Every word would be recorded, every conversation potentially incriminating. Kellerman waited inside with 2 other men I'd never seen before. Expensive suits, cheap attitudes, the kind of people who spoke in euphemisms and threats disguised as friendly advice. Faith, right on time. Kellerman's smile never reached his eyes. "How's business?" "Steady. No complaints." "Good to hear. Police been sniffing around?" My pulse spiked, but I kept my voice level. "A detective asked some routine questions last week. Nothing specific." The unknown men exchanged glances. The taller one stepped forward, his voice carrying a slight accent I couldn't place. "What kind of questions?" General stuff. How long I'd been in business, whether I'd noticed any unusual activity in the industry. I shrugged, hoping I looked bored rather than terrified. Standard police fishing expedition. And you said that I run a legitimate business and mind my own affairs. Kellerman nodded approvingly. Smart woman. Speaking of which, we have an expansion opportunity. New territory, new clients. The kind of growth that requires absolute discretion. For the next 20 minutes, they outlined a plan that made my blood freeze. Not just fake pet insurance claims, but human cremation fraud, identity theft, money laundering on a scale that spanned multiple states. They wanted my funeral home as a central hub, my professional reputation as cover for a criminal empire. The beauty of pet cremation, the shorter man explained, is emotional investment. Grieving families don't ask hard questions. They trust, they pay, they move on. How much are we talking about? Minimum $2 million annually. Your cut would be substantial. And if I'm not interested? The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Kellerman's smile turned predatory, his voice silk wrapped around steel. Well, that would be disappointing. Especially considering how much you know about our current operations. The threat was clear, cooperation or elimination. I thought of Sarah at home, growing stronger each day thanks to stolen money. Thought of Jennifer in the parking lot, listening to every word through police surveillance equipment. I need time to consider. Of course. But not too much time. We'd like an answer by Friday. Back in my car, hands shaking as I removed the wire, I felt hollowed out. The recording device had captured enough evidence to destroy Kellerman's network, but it had also captured my own criminal admissions. Despite Martinez's promises, I wasn't naive enough to believe immunity came without costs. Jennifer appeared at my window before I could drive away, her face etched with concern that looked genuine despite everything between us. Are you okay? Define okay. She climbed into the passenger seat without invitation, her presence both comforting and painful. Faith, I know you hate me right now. I know you feel betrayed. Do I? Because I'm not sure what's real anymore. This is real. She touched my face gently, her thumb tracing my cheekbone. Whatever else you believe, know that my feelings for you are real. When she kissed me, I tasted desperation and regret. I kissed her back despite myself, despite the anger and hurt, because loving her had become as involuntary as breathing. When we broke apart, both of us were crying. I'm sorry, she whispered. For everything. For lying, for the investigation, for falling in love with you in the middle of this mess. Are you? Sorry for falling in love? No. Just for the timing. We sat in silence, two women caught in circumstances too large for easy solutions. Outside, the warehouse loomed like a monument to choices that couldn't be undone. Inside my car, love and betrayal created their own twisted geography, mapping territory neither of us knew how to navigate. What happens now? I asked. Now we see if love is stronger than the mess we've made. The federal courthouse in downtown Los Angeles felt like a cathedral of judgment, all marble columns and imposing architecture designed to remind people like me how small we really were. I sat in the witness chair Tuesday morning, facing a jury of 12 strangers who would decide whether my cooperation meant redemption or just delayed punishment. Miss Adams, the prosecutor began, please tell the court how you became involved with Mr. Kellerman's organization. I'd rehearsed this moment for weeks, but the reality was different, starker. In the gallery, Jennifer sat beside Derek, both of them pale with anxiety. Sarah's empty chair felt like an accusation. My girlfriend was dying. Cancer treatment costs more than my small business could handle. When Mr. Kellerman offered money for falsifying pet death certificates, I accepted. The prosecutor led me through each transaction, each fraudulent document, each criminal decision. My voice stayed steady, but inside I was crumbling. Every admission felt like stripping away another layer of the person I'd been before desperation took over. And what did Mr. Kellerman tell you about the scope of this operation? That it involved multiple states, millions in fraudulent insurance claims, and would expand into human cremation services. Kellerman sat at the defendant's table, his expensive suit wrinkled from weeks in custody. When our eyes met, his expression promised retribution that legal immunity couldn't prevent. I'd betrayed him to save myself. And men like Kellerman had long memories. The defense attorney's cross-examination was brutal. He painted me as a willing criminal who'd only cooperated when cornered, questioning every aspect of my testimony, my motivations, my credibility. By the time he finished, I felt like I'd been dissected in public. "No further questions, Your Honor." Jennifer was waiting in the hallway when court recessed, her face drawn with exhaustion. We'd been living in a strange limbo for months, connected by love but separated by the weight of everything that had happened between us. "You did great up there." "Did I?" "Because I feel like I just destroyed what was left of my integrity." She took my hand, a simple gesture that still sent electricity through me despite everything. "You did what you had to do. That's what criminals always say." The call came Thursday evening while I was closing the funeral home. Derek's voice was shaky, barely controlled panic wrapped in whispered words. "Sarah's gone, Faith." The words hit like physical blows. Gone. Not peacefully passing, not surrounded by loved ones. Gone. Vanished from the hospice care facility where she'd been recovering from her latest treatment cycle. "What do you mean, gone?" "Someone took her, left a note saying you'd understand the message." Kellerman. Even from federal custody, he'd found a way to reach me. The note arrived by courier 20 minutes later, simple block letters spelling out consequences for cooperation. Jennifer arrived as I was loading my gun, her face white with understanding. "Where is she?" "I don't know. But I'm going to find her." "We're going to find her." "No. This is my fault, my responsibility." "Like hell." Jennifer grabbed her coat, her jaw set in that stubborn line I'd learned meant argument was useless. "Sarah may be your girlfriend, but you're mine. We do this together." The safe house was Martinez's idea. A bland apartment complex in Riverside, where federal witnesses waited for trials to conclude. We sat on cheap furniture eating takeout Chinese food, while marshals monitored police frequencies for any sign of Sarah's location. "Kellerman's associates are desperate," Martinez explained. "The trial's going badly for them. Your testimony sealed their conviction, but they're trying to send a message to other potential cooperators." "By kidnapping a dying woman?" "By proving they can reach anyone, anywhere." Jennifer took my hand under the kitchen table, her thumb tracing circles on my palm like she'd done that first night camping. The gesture was both comfort and reminder of how far we'd come, how much we'd lost and found in equal measure. "We'll get her back," she whispered. "How can you be sure?" "Because some things are worth fighting for." The phone rang at 3 a.m., unknown number, muffled voice, instructions to meet at the old Torrance Pier alone or Sarah would disappear permanently. I was reaching for my shoes when Jennifer stopped me. "You're not going alone. It's what they want." "I don't care what they want." She moved closer, her hands framing my face. "I'm not losing you both." When she kissed me, it tasted like desperation and determination, like someone saying goodbye and hello simultaneously. I kissed her back, memorizing the feeling in case everything went wrong. "I love you," I said against her lips. "I love you too. That's why we're going to end this." Outside, rain began falling again, washing the city clean, while we prepared to face whatever waited in the darkness. Sarah was out there somewhere paying for my choices. Jennifer was beside me, refusing to let me face the consequences alone. The pier stretched into black water like a bridge to nowhere, fog swirling around the pylons like restless ghosts. Somewhere in that darkness, the past was waiting to collect its debt. The pier was empty when we arrived, fog rolling off the Pacific like nature's curtain hiding whatever drama was about to unfold. Sarah sat on a bench near the end, wrapped in a blanket but alive, conscious, and apparently unharmed. Too easy, too convenient. I knew it was a trap, but seeing her there made my heart leap anyway. "Faith." Jennifer's voice was tight with tension. "Something's wrong." She was right. No guards, no obvious threats, just Sarah waiting like she'd been placed there for our convenience. We approached slowly, weapons drawn but feeling exposed on the empty planks. "Sarah?" She looked up, her face gaunt but alert. "Faith, they said you'd come." "Who? Where are they?" "Gone. They just left me here an hour ago." Sarah struggled to stand, leaning heavily on the bench. Said the message was delivered. The message. I was still processing what that meant when Jennifer grabbed my arm. Car headlights, multiple vehicles. Police cars surrounded the pier, emergency lights painting the fog in reds and blues. Martinez stepped out of the lead vehicle, his face grim but relieved. "It's over. Kellerman's entire network collapsed this morning. Federal raids in 12 cities, 43 arrests. He approached slowly, hands visible, professional courtesy for armed civilians. They released Sarah because they had bigger problems. Sarah was back in hospice care by dawn, weak but stable. The experimental treatment had worked better than anyone expected, buying her months instead of weeks. I sat beside her bed holding her hand, finally able to tell her everything about Jennifer, about my choices, about the future I wanted. "I'm glad you found someone," she said simply. "You deserve happiness." Sarah, no guilt. We both knew this was coming. She squeezed my fingers with surprising strength. "Jennifer makes you smile. That's enough for me." 6 months later, I stood in Angeles National Forest wearing a simple white dress, waiting for Jennifer to walk down a makeshift aisle between pine trees. The same campsite where we'd first kissed, where we'd discovered something worth fighting for despite impossible circumstances. Derek was my best man, finally sober after months of therapy and community service. Amelia from Jennifer's veterinary clinic served as maid of honor, beaming with the joy of someone who'd watched our love story unfold from suspicious beginning to improbable ending. When Jennifer appeared through the trees, she took my breath away. Simple blue dress, hair crowned with wildflowers, that radiant smile I'd fallen for despite every reason not to trust my own heart. She looked like possibility incarnate. "Dearly beloved," the officiant began, but I stopped hearing words after that. There was only Jennifer walking toward me, only the future we'd built from the wreckage of everything that came before. When she reached me, she took my hands and leaned close enough to whisper, "Ready for this? With you? I'm ready for anything." The ceremony was brief, the vows simple. We'd written our own, promising honesty and support, and the kind of love that survives crisis. When the officiant pronounced us married, Jennifer kissed me like she'd been waiting her whole life for permission. Our reception was camp chairs around a fire pit, takeout barbecue, and champagne in plastic cups. Perfect in its imperfection, celebration born from survival rather than fairy tale romance. Sarah had lived long enough to attend, wheelchair-bound but smiling, giving her blessing to the woman who'd replaced her in my heart. As evening fell and our friends drifted toward their tents, Jennifer and I sat by the dying fire sharing a bottle of wine and the comfortable silence of people who'd earned their contentment. "Any regrets?" she asked. I thought about the question seriously. The fraud that had destroyed my first business. The lies that had nearly ended us. The months of legal proceedings and community service that had followed my cooperation with law enforcement. Just one. "What's that?" "That it took almost losing everything to find you." Jennifer smiled, that slow, devastating expression that still made my heart stutter. "Well, we found each other eventually. That's what matters." When she kissed me under the stars, it tasted like promise and possibility, like the beginning of something built on truth instead of desperation. We'd survived fraud and betrayal, federal investigations and criminal threats. Love, it turned out, was stronger than the mess we'd made. Later, in our tent, Jennifer traced patterns on my skin while I memorized the sound of her breathing. Tomorrow we'd drive back to our rebuilt life, to the new funeral home we'd opened together, to the ordinary happiness we'd fought so hard to claim. But tonight, under the same stars that had witnessed our first kiss, we were simply two women who'd found each other against impossible odds. It was enough. It was everything.